Ladies, we're going live.
Okay, hi.
We're going live.
Yay, yay, yay.
Let's see. Hi, everybody. I don't know if this is actually live yet. Sorry.
So I think we're live.
Yay.
Sarah can't be trusted to do anything on time. Hi, everybody. Welcome. So if you're on my channel, you know probably I'm Sarah from The Bookish Knitter. So we'll just go around and introduce ourselves, and then we will get into our discussion.
Okay. Me? Am I next?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Chloe. My channel name is Always Booked.
Hi, I'm Bree, and I'm on Instagram at Falling for Romance.
So,
all right.
Do you want me to go ahead and start by saying?
I was going to say, yeah, go right ahead, Chloe, and start discussing our friend Colleen Hoover.
Okay, so I had to take off my jacket, get ready for this.
I feel like this is the first one where we're like, let's cut the small talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we need to get into this crap.
So this month we were reading Verity by Colleen Hoover, and a little background on her. So first of all of her full-length novels have become New York Times bestsellers. And she did not publish her first one until 2012. And then in 2015, 16, and 17, she won the Goodreads Choice Romance category for Confess, It Ends With Us, and Without Merit. And then we know she was nominated last year for Verity, which is silly. We'll get there. But that is crazy. And it's crazy to me that she started in 2012 and is already this huge name. But let's see. She writes new adults and young adults mostly. She also has Verity, which is the psychological thriller. Her first book was Slammed in 2012, and that is a trilogy, a young adult trilogy. Her degree is actually in social work. And so that's what she did first. And so now I'm like, I wonder if that's where she's getting some of these stories, is her career in social work. But she is a indie published, as well as Atria and Montlake romance. Okay. So she kind of is all over. I know Verity was indie published. And then last, she has a bookworm box. So if you are a Colleen Hoover lover, I think it's mostly new adult, but it's something she started with her family. And every month the proceeds go to a charity. So that is everything I could find about Colleen Hoover. But before we get into the book, let's say our personal histories with Colleen Hoover. Because this is what made me so excited about this book, is because we are all so different.
Not a fan. The first book that I read was Maybe Someday, which was pretty much a love story to cheating, and I hated it. And so when this one came up, I was very apprehensive, and I have to admit that maybe part of my bias going into this one was the fact that I didn't like her to begin with.
Yeah.
So I'll say that off the bat, but this is only the second Colleen Hoover book I've read, and it will probably be the last.
Okay.
For how Sarah felt on the book.
Yeah, right. I am a Colleen Hoover lover, and everything I have read by her, I have really enjoyed.
So this was my first. She was a big name on BookTube, like you said, she started in 2012, and I remember, I think her name was Witty Novels or something, one of the big booktubers. I remember them reading her, and she was really controversial.
Yes,
people loved her, but then there was problematic stuff. So I never really thought of reading her, because I wasn't reading romance at the time. And then I saw Chanel Cleaton in Dallas when her second book came out. And I met this girl who actually writes romance. Her name's Georgia Kaufman. And she's like, Colleen Hoover puts on this thing called Book Bonanza in the Dallas area every year. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a big name I hear on BookTube all the time. So I started getting interested, but I still was I don't really know if I want to read the books. And then here we are reading Verity.
Here we are. So that's so funny. We had a lover, a hater, and a virgin.
And a newbie.
And a newbie. So
Tell, like, we explain the plot for anybody that doesn't know.
Can this plot be explained? No, it can, but what? Well, what? See, I've completely blanked out even on the main character's name. Not Verity, but the other woman. What the
Lowen.
That's right. Yeah, like her name.
Yeah.
So Chloe imagines like a 4-year-old named Lauren who can't say their name.
Lowen, yeah.
The whole time I'm like, Lowen? No.
It's
I mean,
Lowen.
like, let's cut the baby talk, guys. No offense to anybody whose name is Lowen or children.
Yep.
I really think it's a pretty name. I've just never heard it like on repeat like that.
Yeah.
So she is commissioned out, I guess, to write the last few books in a series by a woman by the name of Verity. It's a very well-known New York Times bestselling, kind of series. Like, when they were describing it at first, I kept thinking for some reason in my head, the In Death series by J.D. Robb, like some long-running series that something happened to the author. And so anyway, she ends up going to the author's house. Now, the author is what? She was in a car accident. And she's essentially no brain function. She needs help doing everything. And stuff happens. Like, I don't know. Like, do we want to go into spoilers? I don't know. You guys feel free to jump in.
I feel like that's the plot.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plot. And then shit happens. She finds a manuscript that was written by Verity. And
as an autobiography.
I do like the way it was done. I have to give credit. Like, the chapters were interspersed with manuscript chapters. So, like, and I'll be honest, as much as I disliked the book, I actually liked Verity's point better than Lowen's. I'm like, I could care less about her. So.
Yeah. So I think, this book kind of, like, still without saying too many spoilers, I think we kind of had two things going on. Well, really, we're just getting to know Verity because we're getting to know her. Lowen goes, so the husband is the one who, like, commissions Lowen to finish out the series. And he says, hey, to do this, come to our house and go through her office because she may have had notes. She was kind of a mess. Like, she had stuff everywhere. So go through all of this and see what you can find if it'll help you finish out the series. And so she is like, okay. So she goes. And Verity is there, like, in her kind of vegetative state. And so we get a very creepy, ominous, like, is Verity actually, like, disabled in this way? Or is she manipulating things? Like, what is going on with this woman? And then we're also getting the chapters that are her manuscript of her autobiography, in which we get to know her more too. So we're really seeing a lot of sides of Verity. And so do we want to say what we rated it?
Yeah.
Get into it.
I loved it and gave it 4 stars. My reason being, it's not a romance. It is a psychological thriller, 100%. It is not a romance. And in fact, I think the romantic elements probably should have been left out. But 4 stars for me. I really, really enjoyed it.
I gave it 2 stars, 1 for the book and 1 for me for finishing it. I feel like I deserved a gold star for finishing that. Because legit, if I hadn't been reading it with you guys for this, I would have DNF'd it.
Yeah.
Way sooner. And I said to you guys, the book was not badly written. I have to give credit where credit is due. It was written well. It just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
all.
Were you not curious to know what was going on?
No, because I knew. I knew right from the beginning. I'm like, I just knew. I'm like, she's fine or something's going on. I had no interest at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I haven't actually rated it anything now that I think about it. But so it's hard for me because would I have picked this up? Probably not. I didn't hate it, but there was a lot of, like, I think taking the enjoyment factor out of it for me, I think as a text, it's fantastic. I think it is because, and it's like I messaged y'all. So like once she kind of laid Verity out for us, right? She gave us the context of Verity. I messaged y'all and I was like, I messaged Steph too. I was like, this bitch is nuts. Have that understood, everything, like you have to kind of like, it's like when I messaged y'all and I was like, it's like if I pick up a Flannery O'Connor, right? She was from Middle Georgia back in the day. I pick up her book. I'm like, how many N-words do I have to count? No, this is not for me. But the time that she was writing, the context, it makes sense for the story. So I was like, it makes sense for the character you've laid out for us. So I think this is one of those stories that as a woman, you either make that decision once you know kind of what you're getting into, if you're going to read it or not. And like, did I like the stuff? As a woman, as a mom, I was like, I would never do that. But for what you gave us for Verity, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to keep reading it. And I thought the only issue was the last chapter. It had me a little confused at first. I had to like reread it, but I liked it in that sense of like, I think it was a really well-written book. Yeah, I don't know. And plus, keeping it real, guys, I had Sarah spoil it for me.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
I could before me, so I was like, just tell me before.
Because it was funny, and I messaged you guys when I started. And I'm like, ooh, I'm actually liking it. And then I think it was like 2 hours later, I'm like, never mind. But I have to say,
Go ahead.
The ending was good, and the ending, I have to admit, because like I said, I had kind of figured it out. I'm like, she's still alive, or she's still got brain function.
Spoilers.
Sorry, yeah, whatever. If you're here, you've probably read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's, and then it came to the end, and I'm like, okay, because a lot of the times when you read a thriller or a psychological thriller or anything like that, the twist happens like at like the midpoint or 3/4 of the way through. But for it to happen at the very end, again, it was well written. I just thought it was too much. And I think she went to places that she didn't need to go, and it still would have had the same impact. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, so Sarah, I love that we're good enough, like that we are good friends, because this is going to be just like an agree to disagree. Like we talked about this.
No, you're absolutely right.
This book is very much an agree to disagree on, because like even in the chat, I'm seeing tons of 2-star and like 5-star, really love it or hate it. And so in our group, Sarah read it first, and then me, and then Bree. And so Sarah read it and was like, this is just too much. Like, this is getting too much. And so I'm thinking like, I'm not going to like this, because I don't like a lot of sex. I have young children. So knowing things about young children flips me out. And yet I'm like, I love this. And I think because I go in, like, first of all, you had said, and other people had said, this is not a romance. So I went in not expecting that. I went in expecting a psychological thriller. And so when I go into those, like, I expect to see some really deranged individuals and like really sick individuals. And so I feel like Verity definitely delivered on that. And I feel like the juxtaposition between like her autobiography, where we're learning how like crazy she was, for lack of a better word, made the present time even more like creepy, because it's like, even if she is a vegetable, like, this lady in that body is scary because she's crazy. And so yeah, I really loved the way it was done. I agree that, like, I see some people saying the sex was too much. I agree, but it almost felt to me like it was like vengeful, manipulative sex, and like it was really like it had to be like hard and dirty.
I kind of think that the sex was neat. I think the sex was actually a pretty important part of the story for laying the groundwork of Verity.
Yeah.
And I think once I finished it, I was like, I can see why Chloe likes this, because it feels kind of women's fiction-y, right? Because you like being in the of other women. So Verity's manuscript chapters, I feel, are very kind of like
just a jacked up woman, but yeah, like a woman. I don't want to be, but I don't want to be in her shoes, but yeah. And like we talked about, I feel like the sex was very like necessary for establishing power. Like Verity, she needed him to like worship her, and she needed she needed to have that power of knowing, like, this is something I have that he wants. Like, I've got this power. And then when like him and Lowen started kind of hooking up too, it was like establishing dominance, like which woman was going to be his woman kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that. So yes, I feel like the sex was very graphic and a lot, but it was necessary.
I mean, because I think, I can't remember if she told us this or not, but like, I think Verity had obviously had sex, but I think when she gets with, is his name Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, that was her first experience, like love making. And it was the game changer. And then like, she was one of them chicks that like, she was like obsessed with him. And she was obsessed with being the person that brings him pleasure. And then like she wants to be like his sole focus. And then when she gets pregnant and she sees how much in love with these unborn kids that she's having, it's like, oh, she's like, it was like the exploration of like power. I think that's why the sex, even though it was hot, it was
a lot. Yeah.
It was, I think it was needed. I think it was needed. And like one thing, so what I think about it is, I know there's a conversation of if it's a romance or not, and people feel like it's not. But to me, it feels very old. It feels like an old Phyllis Whitney novel, where on those old books, it's not romantic suspense or psychological. It's romance, suspense, and mystery. And this kind of feels like a nod to those old Gothic romances, really eerie, atmospheric house. It kind of felt almost like Rebecca in some ways. Rebecca's not on the page. Verity's there, but she's brain dead. But she still like drives the entire story, you guys.
Well, again, it's called, you have to wonder, did she write this as a nod to Rebecca?
Yeah.
Right? Or to Jane Eyre?
Well, like I think Tia said, this is like Rebecca if Rebecca were still alive and, there.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like Rebecca is the main character in Rebecca.
Oh, she absolutely.
That's how I feel with Verity. I mean, I was like, who cares about authors?
There's a reason it's called Verity. It wasn't called
wrong. Okay, you guys, can we go to the ending really quick? Because there's been so many comments on the ending. So Sarah and I don't know about you, Brie, but I really enjoyed the ending too, because I feel like it made it ambiguous, where you don't know, is Verity good or bad? And so, like Steph said, let the villain be the villain. Like now she's innocent. Whereas Debbie, I think, said the villain is the villain till the very end. So it's like I love that we as the reader are allowed to decide, like, was the letter fake or was the whole manuscript fake? What do you guys think about that?
I really liked it. I thought it was a great, like I said, I think part of my issue with the whole book is that I wasn't getting that twist, where maybe because I guessed the twist already, that I wasn't getting it. And then all of a sudden at the end, it was like, what the hell? Where did this come from? And it kind of threw me for a loop. And in all honesty, up until that point, and no, all joking aside, up until that point, really, I had it at about a 1 star. When the ending hit, I was like, okay, like this was good. Like, she really took me on that journey at the end, which I thought was good.
I felt with it was, after I had re-listened to it a couple times, so I felt like, okay, she has this car accident. She's been laid up, brain dead, right? And now we find this letter. To me, again, and going back to Rebecca, her presence is always going to be there.
That's right.
Jeremy don't know about it, but Lowen knows about it. She's now got to carry this burden of keeping the secret of, what if we killed her and she didn't actually do any of that?
Yeah.
I just was like, oh gosh, this is good. It's good. It's good in a bad way.
Now, did you guys think that she was still the villain, or did you think she was innocent? What's your own thoughts?
I think she was still the villain. Like, I think she wrote the letter in the coma.
Yeah, her ultimate FU to everybody.
Is it a spoiler if I talk about, I mean, y'all,
We've spoiled the crap out of this, but go for it.
when that girl, when Lowen sees her on the camera, y'all know what I'm talking about? I was like, this would be a movie, because I would be like, I love, that was my favorite scene in the whole story. I see you, Verity.
Oh my gosh, like that kind of stuff is so stressful to me. But and I'm like, oh, but I love it. Yeah. So Debbie brought up, my main thought was how poor Harper got the scar on her face and have the learning disabilities. And Crew was upstairs at one point with a knife. And so, yeah, the knife thing, like, I feel like the scar, because they said that could happen with twins, like that there could be things in utero.
Yeah.
And then I think her learning disability was Asperger's, which is obviously caused by other things. But I think the knife is like, why are you hiding knives if you're like an innocent, just trying to write good thrillers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole, so I Googled like mom jealousy before we got on here.
Yeah.
It is very much a thing, mostly with mothers and daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, like, if the mom is possessive over the husband, there can be jealousy with the daughters. And if the husband is weak and like wants to just please his wife, he's going to give into her insecurities. And then that has its effects on his relationship with the daughter. And in the end, the daughter kind of has no real relationship with both parents. And I was like, well, this is legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you said she studied what? Psychology?
Social work.
So, I mean, she, the thing is, you got to think, has she seen this? Not to this extent, but she took maybe this idea and just snowballed the hell out of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. That would be really interesting to know, like, if she, and like all of her books are very hard hitting, I would say. And so I wonder if she gets like drives inspiration from that, but
she must. Yeah. And
I
think a good point. That's why she never tried to kill Jeremy.
Crew.
Because of that too. The husband and both of them.
Yeah, you saw the difference between her relationship with the girls and then the boy.
Yeah.
Like,
but did she know what she was having before she had them? Did she know she was having girls?
I don't think she did.
I don't think she did.
I don't know.
So
but maybe it's like
from the jump, like she just, when she like, because I think they had been doing it, and like he rubbed the stomach or the baby kicked or something, and she got so mad that he was like, they had that conversation of like, do you love me more than you'll love them? And he was like, it's different. And it was like that crazy light bulb went off. To the bathroom, like, I had to get rid of this.
Oh man, like, that's crazy. Like, and I wonder if too, like, after she had them, like, Crew wasn't as big of a deal because like she already had the two, like she was already competing with children. So what's the difference between competing with 3 versus 2? Yeah. Oh, Steph says they did find out that they were girls.
Okay. Because I think that if she didn't know, it would have been, you know what I mean, a little bit different. Like, okay, we'll find out what's going to happen. But
I know, like, as the mom of girls, my husband has said like he would be harder on a boy than he is on our girls. Like that a girl, there's just a soft spot with especially little girls. It's like you want to protect them, and as I would imagine as a dad, especially, you're like, those are your little girls. So I don't understand being jealous of that, but I could see how with a boy, a dad would be more likely to, and I'm stereotyping for sure, but to say like, just to be less like, she would have to share less of his emotional energy with a boy, potentially.
A girl, I think the girls for Verity represented a threat.
Absolutely.
The love is different. It's different. And that,
which is so crazy that like the different is not like, Ew. Well, what kind of man do you think you're married to that your daughters are competition?
Yeah.
But that's the psychological issue that she had,
Mhm.
that she couldn't differentiate that fact.
Did y'all feel that she loved him, or was it like obsession, or can you have both? Like, can it be both?
I think she believed she loved him.
I would say she loved him for what he gave her, as far as like the power and the feeling of being wanted. And
Yes.
like, I don't know that she necessarily loved him, but she loved what he gave her.
Yeah. And the idea of him and the idea of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think this book too was really interesting because I have always wondered, thriller, horror writers, authors, movie makers, that kind of thing, like, how do they get into that mindset to write these things, that especially like these things that are so like disturbing? How do they get there? And so like within the book, it talked about that, because supposedly the way Verity was doing it is by writing this autobiography that was a twisted version of reality. And that's how she got into the mindset to write this long running thriller series. And then, but was it, or like, was this just an exercise in writing, or was she, cuckoo? And then, and like, so, and Colleen, it just brings up that whole discussion of, how much can you separate the artist from the art?
Well, that's what, when we read that part where it was like, oh, fake out, this is all just, I did it to write these books. I sat back, I had to pause the book because I was listening to it on audio, and I'm like, wait, is this what Colleen Hoover herself did?
Yeah.
You have to wonder, I'm like, hold on. Are you giving me author secrets now?
She does only have boys. That we know of.
That's right.
Well, I think that, I don't know. I think that she, by writing this story and the horrendous things that Verity she does, is, I mean, and regardless of, the letter, I think it kind of like debunks that idea of like, everybody's excited when they find out they're going to be mothers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point too that I brought up.
Yep. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know with the letter. I'm like,
so, you know what bothered me with the pregnancy? There are ways to not get pregnant. Like,
not in romance, not in books. There's no way.
Everybody in books is so fertile. Sorry, my bad. But
condoms break, things happen.
Like right from the get-go, she was mad. She was pregnant, and I just kept thinking, well, you're an idiot.
Where's your birth control?
Dude, get your tubes tied. Problem solved. There wouldn't have been a I don't know.
And I think that's why the use of pregnancy, if somebody's pregnant in a romance, it's intentional, because you pick up a romance most days and there's mention of a condom or I'm on the pill. Like that is said before it happens. So when there's a baby, it's like, okay, this is part of the plot.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I was going to ask you guys and everybody in the chat, do we wish that the letter would have not been there? I know I talked to Steph right after she finished it or something, and she said it would have been 5 stars if it wasn't for the letter.
Steph was on Instagram stories like,
yeah, I'm mad. Steph is my favorite for genuine reactions. I love it for vlogs.
Exactly.
So what do we think? Like, and I think it's funny, like, Bree, you put up that poll on Instagram and it was all over the board if people loved it or hated it. Like, and I kind of feel like this might be 50-50 too, because I really liked the letter, because I like being like, what? And
like I said, I thought it was a really good twist to it.
Yeah.
I think I like the letter just because it still gives Verity the upper hand, even though she's not there. now Lowen is going to do whatever to make sure Jeremy never finds out about this letter. She was like flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah, right.
You know, she walks in her sleep. Hopefully she doesn't, you know, mumble it one night when she's walking, like, I flushed the last letter. Verity. No.
Verity didn't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it establishes that like she's still kind of the main character in their life.
But
Yeah.
Lowen, I think I said to you guys in one of my messages afterward, she was nowhere near innocent in this at all.
No.
And there was no clearly defined good guy or bad guy in this. Like you're used
Which is another thing I loved.
Yeah, no, that bothered me. I didn't like her. See, that's the thing. I not identify with characters, but I need to like the characters. I didn't like anybody. Even Crew pissed me off. Like the girls were adorable, but they were dead. So,
I don't like she talks about that on her Goodreads. Like when I was after I finished it, like let me know her notes and stuff. And she talked about that. She's like, kids are assholes, and as a writer, I can write about them. Like, true.
I don't think she was evil, Steph, but she wasn't innocent. She purposely slept with Jeremy, knowing damn well that Verity was probably alive. Cheating's a big thing for me. And she got herself pregnant. Like she knew what she was doing. It even says in the scene that after he leaves the room, she sticks the pillow up under her butt so nothing seeps out.
Which does not work, by the way.
It does not. But you know what I'm saying, though?
Like, not an actual fertility kit.
She was trying to take him from Verity because she knew in her mind that Verity was still alive. And that really bothered me.
And yeah, that's where I was thinking, like when they started doing the deed and stuff, like it felt like she was almost like had one eye on Verity the whole time.
It was sex for the sake of, look what I'm doing. I'm effing your husband and you can't do jack shit about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where I think this book is so divisive, because like ambiguous endings are very divisive. People either love them or hate them. Like we've heard a lot of people say, I hated it. And then other people said, I like that it gave me something to think about. And then also just exactly what you said, like none of them are likable. Well, I don't know if none of them are likable, but I would say probably none of them are likable. And none of them are clearly good or clearly bad. And I really enjoy that in thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the letter because it enabled her to manipulate. I think Verity's plan all along, she wants the upper hand. That's why I find the letter kind of suspicious. Yeah. I like the letter left just enough up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
She even says that to Verity the night of her birthday.
Maybe I'm
gonna be downstairs. Yes.
Yeah.
You really think she can hear us? But I found because like unless it's like I'm sure there's romances out there, but like in romance, that's kind of a rule, right? Like you don't see sex on the page with somebody else. Mm-hmm. So like we had to see it from Verity to the manuscript and then Lowen. So it's like it wasn't happening. It happened in the past. And with Lowen's, it was more present day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so we're filling Jeremy, whose wife is upstairs, brain dead.
Yep.
Talk about an info. Jeremy's the most guilty one of all.
Right.
Did y'all sympathize with Jeremy at all?
No.
No.
He was American Psycho. He was just as bad. And he handpicked her, did he not? To write the books.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I wonder what he was thinking. Why he
picked
her.
Yeah.
That?
Did what?
Was that addressed? Like why he picked her? I feel like it was.
That she wrote that she wrote like his wife. Yeah. That's what he said. But he only ever read one of her books.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know.
So at the beginning, I thought like their meet cute, I guess if you can call it that, was really sweet. And I really before about Verity and everything, I was like, oh, I hope, like I was kind of pulling for them. And then once you like find out the whole story, I feel like the romance just died for me. And yeah.
This was never romantic. This had no romantic, nothing.
Well, and I was a little confused, kind of like how the whole timeline of everything went at the end when Verity is talking about like how Jeremy tried to kill her before. And so like, I don't know. I think there's something going on with Jeremy that we don't see.
So Jeff said because he knew that Verity wrote that autobiography, but then that goes to the letter. That if Jeremy knew she wrote the autobiography, then the letter was real.
Why?
Yeah.
Or maybe he just hadn't found the letter.
Maybe.
Because remember, she makes him read it. And it felt real that like he had never read it before.
Yeah.
But he had read it before. We know that for sure.
Yeah, he supposedly put her in the car for the accident. Yeah.
Because he read it. So like supposedly it was the third time he tried to kill her that he actually did. So
you say that many times to almost be killed.
Yeah, right. Which again just kind of establishes like Verity's not going away.
Woman's got to buy herself a lotto ticket. That's all.
Right. Like, get out of bed, go to the lotto, go to the casino.
I think that, I mean, it does with Verity. It did kind of show the power of like female sexuality.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Was able to like use that until she couldn't use it anymore. You know, though I feel like when he was like mentally over her shit, it just wasn't going to work anymore. But before that, and it felt like that was the only way she knew how to connect with him.
So here's my thought. So if he tried to kill her twice before, why didn't she at one of those times be like, dude, the autobiography's fake? You know, like why
continue to carry it out?
Why, you know, like, yes, she had this letter that was written at some point, who knows when, but like, why wouldn't she be like, okay, I see that you're seriously upset, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the truth.
Clearly we're having some issues right now.
Yeah, like
crossed a line.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some tea, honey. Sit down, we're gonna have a discussion.
Right.
Jeremy would probably think she was poisoning him.
Which she probably would have been. Yeah. No. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why she like that's why I feel like the letter was placed afterwards just to screw with Lowen, because like why would she just be like, and like as a spouse, why would you want your husband to think that you killed your kid and stuff if you didn't? Like, wouldn't you be like, hey, no, that was just a writing tool?
My big thing out of the entire thing that drove me crazy, it was a friggin' physical manuscript. Who does that anymore? Why is it not password protected on a computer if it's that bad? I do not read or something. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's why that's another reason why it kind of feels old schoolish. I mean, even then though,
yeah. But you know,
I think still authors will have physical manuscripts to do edits and things.
But what I'm saying is that it's that bad. If you know what I mean, like it's that whether it's real or fake. You know, or like, what if your kids found it?
That's what I would say. Like, put an author's note in the beginning of like, this is a work of fiction that was used to do whatever.
And if any of my kids read this, it's all Daddy's fault.
So why do y'all feel so like, not us, but like before, like now that we've read it, we know people either love it or they hate it. Is it the acts in the book? Is it the way the book was written? Like, what do y'all think causes such a divide? Because now that I've read it, yeah, it's some crazy shit in it. But again, like with what she wants us to know about Verity, I feel like it's pretty on point for somebody in that mental capacity. Why do you think it's such a divide?
I wonder, and I know you've read her a lot, Chloe, so I can't speak for every Colleen Hoover fan, but I know she writes a lot of like actual romance, I'm assuming. So I wonder if like, because the two I've read have no romance in them, but anyway, that I wonder if those diehard Colleen Hoover fans are reading this one going, what the is this?
Yeah.
And I
Mad.
wonder if that's part of it. Not all of it, but part of it.
As part of liking it or not liking it?
Not liking it. Like, this is not what I'm used to reading from this author. Like, she really strayed from her lane kind of an idea, and that's not what I'm used to. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read enough of her to say either way.
I would say, as a Colleen Hoover fan, I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, what the heck did I just read? But like, damn, this chick is talented that she can write all over the board. She can write YA, she can write new adult. Then she can step completely into left field and do something like this and do it damn well, you know? And I personally, my opinion, go ahead, Sarah.
No, go ahead, hon.
Well, my opinion on why it's so divisive is just because of the things we've talked about, like the ambiguous ending, the unlikable characters, the going there as far as darkness and sexuality and that kind of thing. Like, one thing about Colleen Hoover is she is not afraid to go there, and it's going to step on some toes. It's going to make some people really uncomfortable. She's not for everybody. And for me, I feel like a psychological thriller is the best place to have this kind of stuff. Like, you know, and I think, I mean, just like we've talked about, I like the ambiguous ending. I liked not having clear cut, likable or unlikable characters. I like that she like really put us in the mind of Verity and made us feel that tension. And so I think those kind of things that are pretty divisive, and either you like them or you don't. And that's why, like, I think too, this conversation, there's no argument to be had because it's, you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's works away for a lot of books. You can't really argue about books because everybody has their own opinion. But I also have to wonder if didn't this win the Goodreads Choice Award for romance?
No.
Or was it nominated? It was nominated. Right? Yeah.
And people were pissed.
Well, but I wonder how many people went into it thinking it was actually a romance and then realizing, no, this is a really good psychological thriller, but this is not what I signed up for.
Well, and how many people voted for it without reading it, saying, Colleen Hoover, she does romance.
Oh, that's crazy.
Down, girls.
Yeah.
Why don't we feel like it's a romance? What's the meet cute?
What is the meet? Wait, why don't we feel like it's?
Where's the meet cute? Let's go through the beats. What's the meet cute? They meet, right? Where's the meet cute?
Yeah, they meet when she gets like guts blown all over her.
Okay, and then she comes to the house. She's reading the manuscript. They're getting to know each other. I mean, what's the dark moment? They end up together. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like, I don't really.
It's not.
But like, I would say it's a old school romantic suspense.
No, I think you're not wrong. I think it's a psychological thriller over a romance. I mean, I would say it's a psychological thriller because, you know, it depends. Like, there's definitely romance in it. I don't think it's a romance because I don't think that Lowen and Jeremy are the main characters. And so I think the romance plot is secondary.
But would you consider Rebecca a romance?
I've never read Rebecca.
No, Rebecca's not a romance.
And I mean, so if we look at the romance as being the romance between Jeremy and Verity, it's not a HEA.
No, exactly. Which is the definition of a romance, is that there needs to be a happily ever after.
If we look at it between Lowen and Jeremy, there is is there a happily ever after? Would you be happy though, having this Verity cloud hanging over you?
Worry to me. It's the guy.
Yeah.
I don't think she cares. I think she's, you know, just as obsessed with Jeremy as Verity was. Maybe not to the same level, but she's just happy to be with him.
Well, and that's where I think she does care, because she's got to protect that, because otherwise she may have to share part of his heart with Verity, because as it is, he hates Verity. I mean, he killed her.
Because he did come to Verity's defense when she was like, oh my God, she's awake. She was moving. And he's like, you're nuts. She's brain dead. Get out. So I think if he let that one slip, he would be like, oh shit. Like, he killed Verity.
Yeah. And then he would probably be like checked out. Like, I got to get uninvolved with all of this because, Antonella said, 35,000 people voted for this as best romance in 2019.
Talk about
fandom. Yeah. That's funny.
I call this a sex manual. It had the feel of an old school gothic. Yeah, that's how I feel. It feels like one of those old novels where there's more suspense, but there's a little bit of a love story. I mean, I guess it just depends. Like, I preferred Verity's chapters over Lowen's, but in the end, I look at it as Lowen started feeling Jeremy and she got the guy in the end.
Mm-hmm. But is she happy?
But she had to kill someone to do it.
You gotta do it. You're wrong, Bree. You're wrong.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Shift into a leopard, okay? To fall in
teaching people. Listen, girls, you can have your man. Just kill her first.
F the love triangles.
Steph said she thinks Coho's writing is lazy. Of those 4 books, there's always something that pisses her off. Maybe she will write a sequel so we can find out what happens next between Jeremy and Lowen.
She kills him.
I think that's another thing that's just kind of left for us to figure out.
But that's part of the fun, or part of the is it not, Chloe? Is that not part of the enjoyment of the book? Is that you don't know?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, does that secret ever come out? Does it not? Yeah. And then what does everyone do?
We talk all the time offline about happy ever afters. Do we have to have a baby to have happy ever after? No. Does it have to be a wedding? Do you have to not kill somebody every time? I don't know. What's the difference? You know? I mean, I don't think it should have been in the running to be a romance final at all, when the suspense and mystery part was way better. But I agree that little part is in there.
Okay, and I will not argue that. That's fair. But I think maybe this should have definitely been up for thriller. I'm tempted to see what won thriller that year, because I wonder if it was more of a, well, we're not going to win against this thriller. Let's try in romance.
Yeah.
Well, let's look. Let me look really quick.
I wonder what romance won. Does anybody know what romance it was against? Like, if it was up against Christina Lore and the Unhoneymooners or something.
When did it come out?
Last year. I think 2019. Hold on, I'm looking.
Let's remember Lowen suggests how Jeremy needs to kill her. She did. She was like, it needs to look innocent. I was this before.
Okay, you guys don't look. Let's see. Can anybody guess what was the romance of last year?
Oh, shit. Was it that LJ shit or somebody? Oh, no. Red, white, and royal blue.
Was it Helena Hunt? No.
Is red, white, and royal blue?
Red, white, and royal blue.
Yeah,
I haven't read it yet.
Steph hated that book. I haven't read it.
I was going to read it, but I know Steph hated it. I'm like, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to read it either.
The thriller was The Silent Patient, which I didn't love, but that's not what we're talking about, so whatever.
I mean, I wonder if she would have, because she's such a big romance name, would thriller readers have taken Verity serious for it to even be on that list?
Well, I have a question in general about Goodreads. I don't know. Like, the main page genre things that go up the side, like, it's a mystery, it's a thriller, it's whatever. Is that put on by Goodreads and the author? Or is that what, like, if Chloe shelves it and she shelves it as a thriller, somebody else shelves it as a romance, is it all based on how people shelve it? Or is that something Goodreads?
I think it is.
Yeah. So a lot of people clearly shelve that book as a romance.
But I wonder how many shelve it, like, want to read romance.
And yes, like, read it, drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I wonder if that's a reason. I wonder if that's a reason why, not in Steph's world of dark romance, but like darker romances are hard to write because you have to balance eerie atmosphere and mystery suspense with romance, and it's hard to do. I wonder if that's why it's hard for that to make a comeback. Because this seems to, people are like, this isn't a romance. And it's like, there was a whole genre of these that were like very, very popular, like years ago.
Yep.
And it's been hard for them to come back. And I think it's because people are so divided on like, well, I don't feel like it's a romance,
So I looked on Amazon because on Amazon, I think that is by the authors and that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
it is romantic suspense, thrillers and suspense, literature and fiction.
Okay.
So no romance. But then also, let me tell you, one of these reviews or one of the like blurb things, hold on, is warning, Verity is not going to melt your heart. It's going to fry your soul. I think that's kind of true.
I saw a good one. Hold on, let me pull it up. Hold
Yeah,
on.
you're right, Steph. She does have but you know what? It's the same for a lot of authors. You know, like I'm a huge Christina Lauren fan, and I know that there's a lot of stuff lately that they have written that hasn't been the best, but I will still continue to pick up their books because I like them.
Yeah.
But I also will not go ahead and rate a book before I've read it. And I think that's part of the problem too, that you see that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think part of my love for this book is a respect for Colleen Hoover because I have read her other stuff and I see how she writes other stuff to then be able to write a thriller in this way makes me respect her even more.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ones that I see, it says bold, unrelenting, all-consuming, creepy, unputdownable. What I've come to appreciate most about Colleen Hoover's work, whether it's an emotionally charged love story or in this case, her first go at suspense, is her penchant for pushing boundaries, for telling the unexpected story. So I'm scrolling down. And the finale was stunning. I was so sure I'd pinpointed exactly what was happening and why, but I was wrong. So very wrong. 5 stars.
So, Brie, what are you going to rate it?
I think I'm going to rate it 4 stars.
Yeah. I really I am impressed by it. And I would almost even consider after this discussion raising my rating because the reason for 4 for me is just because it's not a romance and I feel like the romantic elements were too much, but like we've talked about, like I feel like they were necessary. So I don't know.
And I think it's one of those situations where I have to like take the fact that I'm a woman and a woman who's chosen to be a mother out of it. And I'm like, oh, you chose to really go there, girl. You are in the bathroom trying to give yourself an abortion. Like, we don't do that. Like, they just
it's not cool.
We don't talk about, but it's like,
as someone who's not a mother, I mean, I was driving to work listening to that, and I swear to God, I'm like, I need a shower now. I absolutely. My first thought was, okay, yes, it would be horrible about the babies, but my other thought is, you could kill yourself.
Yeah,
or like get an infection up there. Like, don't
right? Like you're not a doctor.
Yeah,
hands on. Like, I'm not giving myself an abortion.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody that's watching, like Sarah, you were enjoying it at first. Sarah was like, guys, it's so good. And then all of a sudden she's like, I feel like I need a shower. Like it just took a turn.
In all reality, if we hadn't been, like I said, if we hadn't been reading it together, that is the point I would have gone, I'm done. And I check out. You know, it was too much for me. I like a good thriller. I like, but I find like the authors that I read don't go to that really dark place. And if they do, it's not on page. It's more alluded to. You know what I mean? I'm okay with it.
Do you feel this was more of a horror than a thriller?
Oh, absolutely, because of the violence. That's how I feel, because it was so violent. Especially when it came to the kids.
Yeah.
See, and it's weird because the pregnancy scenes, that stuff, I was like, okay, that's fucked up. But okay, I get what you're doing. But it was like imagining the emotional impact that it was having on the girls once they were actually there. That was the part that I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep doing
go there. Yeah. Yeah.
It was hard. But again, I think that it was really bold on her part to be like, to explore the fact that not everybody wants to be moms.
Yep. And if you are like already prone to psychological illnesses and stuff, and then you become pregnant and you don't want to be, I would imagine that's something that could happen. And we talked about like personally, I don't know if this is a horror or not, but and like Steph said, y'all know I don't like horror, but I would have liked this had it not been for the ending. I didn't mind it because it made sense to the character, and it was not horror for horror's sake and violence for violence sake. And I don't personally feel like it was for shock value. I feel like it was for telling us who Verity was and where she was coming from. And so, I mean, I guess to me, maybe I'd need to say I don't mind horror because I don't like, I didn't mind this.
Yeah, I didn't mind either because I really felt like this girl is obsessed with her man and she wants all of his emotional and physical attention on her.
Mm-hmm.
And so those scenes while pregnant and afterwards, while it was hard to read, you have to just take it in that context of like, she has no emotions towards these kids.
Right.
And she's jealous that his emotions and his attention is now divided. It's not on her, you know, and even her little stuff in the middle of the night isn't working anymore. Yeah. And I think it did work. It did work.
Yeah. Well, like fiction and frivolity, she said that's the problematic side of Colleen Hoover. And I think that's exactly right. That's why some people will like her and some will not, is because she goes to very dark and crazy places that is either too much or it's not.
And that's it. It's like, you know, I'm not saying it would have been better, but if I probably would have liked the story more if it had been like that scene in the bathroom in the middle of the night. It would have been, I tried to abort the kids, but I didn't need any details.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that. I don't, you know what I'm saying? We could imagine as the reader for ourselves. That's probably exactly what I would have imagined, because you've heard of it happening. You know, back in the 50s when women got pregnant out of wedlock, this is where they back alley abortions, right? Yeah. So I would have gone there in my mind, but I didn't need to read it on page. That was, I think,
sweet Krista. Books and Jams. Well, I just popped in because I love you gals, but I can say after listening for 5 minutes, I'm 100% not reading this book. And no, this is not a Krista book.
Smart woman.
Don't go there. Do not go there, Krista.
I feel like we need a Krista book after this one.
I know.
Yeah, right, eh?
Like, we all love our light stories. So this is...
Yeah, this is a departure.
Steph really has issue with the letter. I'm not absolutely certain, but I'm pretty sure Steph didn't like the letter.
What makes you think so?
I'm so mad.
Oh my gosh. I know. I need that. Like, I need her Instagram story to be savable on repeat.
Right?
So mad.
What purpose do you all feel that Crew served? Because I feel like he was... Could we have had Crew?
I feel like Crew was evil. And I think one day, you know, Lauren or whatever the hell her name was and Jeremy are going to wake up and Crew's going to be trying to shove a pillow over their faces when he's 16. I just got this feeling that he's nuts. I don't know why.
Well, I feel like
maybe that's why Verity loved him.
Yeah, he was like the little bird who dropped in clues. Like, well, my mommy said this. And she's like, what?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Verity, like somebody said at some point, that Crew was kind of a mama's boy. And I think that's probably true. And that, like, Verity could have mind warped him if he was older. You know, like, I don't know because he was like, what, 5 when she died?
So maybe she was starting to, with all the time that they spent together up in that.
But then I also do think, just like, obviously his point was to drop little Easter eggs that, hey, she's not doing what she said she's doing.
That's going to be the sequel. It's going to be Crew's story.
Verity Part 2.
Right?
Do you all feel like, I mean, it's already a divisive book, but had a male author wrote it, do you feel like
I'm out?
Would be icky? Like, why are you writing this kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is weird because I think, like, so especially when it comes to the child abuse and like trying to do an abortion on yourself and stuff, it's like, because it was written from a woman, I feel like it was more genuinely trying to, and this is my bias, I'm telling you up front, I feel like it's more genuinely trying to convey a woman's experience. Whereas if it's a man, it's like, almost like I just don't like when men write crazy women. And I think there's no way a man can know what it's like to be pregnant unwanted and to be, like, and I don't know. I just think to me, that would have been probably too much.
This book gave me misery vibes.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that.
Yep.
I've only seen the movie, but that
I haven't read it, but I get the plot, so I can see that.
I just remember Kathy Bates' boobs like floating at the top of the hot tub or whatever, and I was like, because I think I was like 10 when I saw it.
It was nuts.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was definitely a book that we talked about. That surprisingly had a lot to say.
Again, I feel like it is a good book if it elicits such an emotional response from so many people. Or a well-written book, at least. It's not necessarily a good book. It's a well-written book if you are that emotionally responsive, either positively or negatively.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
On to the next one.
Yep. So, do we want to talk about anything else, or do we want to
put a question out there? Because I think I agree with Steph that she's on my no longer read list, Colleen Hoover, because the 2 books. But I do have a copy of November 9. Knowing the first 2 that I read that I didn't like, should I try November 9 or no?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to.
It's a romance, is it not? About
a
couple who keep re-meeting on that same day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll give it a try and see. No promises.
We can buddy read it, Sarah.
Okay.
If you want to. I would like to. I haven't read that one, so I am saying yes just because I think.
Oh, see, then I can't listen to you.
Yeah, I know. I just think you should. I would say yes no matter which one.
It's like you asking me, should I read Susan Wiggs? Yes, you should.
That's true.
You're always like,
yeah.
Oh, really, Steph? Uh-oh.
Anyway, I've tried to read that book like 3 times.
Yikes. Yikes.
Speaking of Susan Wiggs,
woo woo,
chatting with her.
November 14th.
Yes.
Right?
November 14th, yes. So
Mark,
like 3 weeks today, I think.
Yeah, because it's a Saturday. And yeah. So if you guys have not heard, Susan Wiggs herself will be joining us. And you guys, I really hope she didn't hear me say that she is not the author for me. I'm going to be reading more to hopefully change my mind.
So if we ever get to interview Colleen Hoover, I will politely step aside and let you ladies take
there
over.
You go. I've liked one of hers, and the others haven't been terrible. So
yeah. I definitely want to read at least one more before we talk to her. I mean, I really loved Map of the Heart and Family Tree, which I know Chloe hated Map of the Heart.
Yeah, but I liked Family Tree. Family Tree is the one I really liked.
And I know Sarah's read like a ton of her backlist, so it's just it's exciting.
I've read 22 of her books so far.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And her first book was published in what, like 87, I think you said?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, yeah, OG. So
yeah, it's been around for a while. She knows what she's doing.
So if I'm just sitting in a corner like giggling, you guys will know why. Like I'm just fangirling and awkward because I don't really like it. I'm just kidding.
But it'll be interesting, I think, starting to write back in the 80s, just the process of like writing and getting published. Has it changed any? Like that? So I'm excited.
Actually. Has she been with the same publisher that whole time?
No, I think she's jumped around a bit.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. So I'll have to look at that and see. So to everybody else out there, if there's any questions that you might have, we're probably going to be putting some polls up on Instagram and stuff like that. So be on the lookout if there's anything that you want to ask her. We're trying to get a set of questions together. Just, so we kind of know what we're going in with. So we're just not going the whole time. Wait, that'll be me.
I'll be drinking wine.
Brie will be doing her moderator boss job. Me and Sarah will be like,
I'll be looking at Chloe like, is her eye twitching?
Yes, the Lakeshore Chronicles series, 100%. The Calhoun Chronicles, I think I've only read The Charm School, which was the first one.
What's the apple? Is the apple orchard or something? Is that
Yeah,
part?
well,
Apple Orchard, and then it was the Beekeeper's Ball. Those were more recent.
and number 3 is the one we just read.
Supposedly, yeah. I very, very, very loosely.
Maybe
And Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye and Books and I read The Apple Orchard and
you guys
hated it.
Yeah. But I've got Chloe's going to be reading Summer at Willow Lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very
soon. Very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, what is everybody currently reading?
Yes. Good question.
Hey, thanks.
I'm reading. So I've been trying to read October type reads, y'all. I started my first Jana DeLeon.
Oh, Jana DeLeon. Oh, I love her. Love her.
Good. It takes place in like Louisiana Bayou town, second chance romance. A little girl's gone missing in the swamp somewhere. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Harlequin intrigue. So check them out. Thank you, Sarah, for teaching us about the Harlequin lives.
All of your Harlequin needs.
Hey, Bree, where did you get The Reckoning anywhere that I could get it to, like on KU or anything?
The audiobooks on Audible Escape. And I
For
did pay for the book.
Hold on, I'm seeing if I can find it anywhere. Go ahead, Sarah. What are you reading?
I am reading, and I don't have anything to show you guys, but I'm reading Kathy's Christmas Kitchen right now by Tilly Tennant, whom I love to pieces. It's a UK chicklet, Christmassy fun. And then just for funsies, after I'm done that one, it'll be Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. I picked this up just now at Walmart for 40% off, even though I have the advanced reader copy, but I'm like, but it's 40% off and it's floppy.
We're doing that 1,000 page challenge.
Yes, I am. I am participating in it. To be honest, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but 1,000 pages I can probably do in 3 days or 2.5 days.
I was like, Sarah could do 1,000 pages this weekend.
No problem.
Like today. She probably already has done 1,000 pages.
Yeah, no. I'm finishing up The Witches of New York by Amy McKay, which is really good. I'm really enjoying it. It's giving me practical magic vibes. But the movie,
I was going to say the movie or the book, because I read Rules of Magic, I think, and I was like,
I did not like the book at all, but the movie, it's definitely giving me the movie vibes, for sure. So anyway, that's what I'm reading. Continue with the rest of you.
What are you reading, Chloe?
I'm reading After the Night by Sandra Marie. This is free on Kindle right now. And it's about, I see the little pumpkin. It like punked me into thinking it was a really good Halloween romance, and it's not really. It is about this girl. It's like a reverse Cinderella story about this girl. They meet at a Halloween party and they're in costume, of course, and then she is trying to find who he is, and they work together, and she doesn't know it, I guess. But I'm buddy reading this with Morgan from Nothing Better Than a Book, and she just finished it, but like we're both thinking like maybe 3 stars max, because it's like really unrealistic that she doesn't know who he is, and just kind of, it's just meh, but it's free. So if you want, and it's like 220 pages. So
quick read.
Yeah, quick read.
That does sound cute.
It does. It's not bad. It's just not great.
Oh gosh, we have a lot. Okay. Steph's doing the 24-hour readathon. Yes. Dewey's. I never know when Dewey's is going on unless Steph's doing it. So I'm of course late. Antonella's reading Let Love Rule by Lenny Krav. Oh, she just finished Lenny Kravitz, and Bothered by Kira. All Scott and Bothered by Kira Byrne.
Nice.
Blacklisted by Jay Crownover. That's Cowboy series, right? Elizabeth's reading mostly for her grad classes, Meridian, the Rachel Papers, and Spencer's The Fairy Queen. Also plowing through Marion Key's books because she's snarkily fabulous and trying to
snarkily. I have to use that every day.
Okay, Elizabeth Tyree, I'm going to warn you, don't read her memoirs because she's kind of a shitty person. I like loved Marion Keyes, and then I started reading her memoirs, and I was like, "You suck."
I think I just got All Scott and Bothered on Kindle, or not Kindle, on NetGalley.
Can I tell you a funny story about Lenny Kravitz? So if I find a podcast I like, I go back and like listen to it from the beginning. And so I'm listening to, what's it called? Shoot, Spawned. It's like a parenting, it's a parenting podcast. I mean, they have kids, they're moms, but like they talk very little about their kids, or I mean, whatever. So she was talking about, remember, like, it's an old podcast. So remember like 3 or 4 years ago or something where he had that big issue because he like was doing a concert and bit down and his pants ripped and his nuts fell out. And her and her daughter were there, and her daughter was like, but why isn't he wearing underwear? And I think that is so funny.
Oh my God. I'm excited for that one because I hear it's just about like the women in his life, like his mom and his daughter. And so I think it's going to be sweet. I can't wait to read it.
It's on Scribd, she said. Antonella says.
Y'all, Scribd, it's been a bad Scribd month. It was one of those months where I listened to one book and then all of my stuff disappeared.
Oh no. What'd you listen to?
I listened to a poetry collection that was like 90 pages.
What?
Oh, that's crazy. That's not
okay. I'm gonna listen to my Terry Wilson Christmas romance next.
No,
November 1st.
No,
oh Lord,
y'all suck.
Oh, Elizabeth, maybe she's not terrible, but she just comes off very superficial and like not great.
So I hope our next pick. What's our next pick? Are we announcing?
Oh yeah,
or the next one? Yeah, this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
If you have it up, Chloe.
Yeah, it's Tales from the Stacks, I think is what it's called.
No, I work
in a public library. Yes.
Which is also available on Scribd in case anybody needs it.
And Kindle Unlimited.
Yes, it is.
Because it is nonfiction November, guys. It'll be nonfiction November. So,
and it's relatively short. I think it's like under 150 pages, and it's a couple little stories.
I think it's only like 99 pages.
Cheers, that works for me.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to look groups. Boo boo boo.
Andra said the same thing happened to her with Scribd. It's just been I'm really tempted, y'all.
I'm only reading one book on Scribd this month, and it's The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, which is like 9,000 hours long. So I'm getting my money's worth out of that one, I'll tell you.
Okay, it is called I Work at a Public Library, a collection of crazy stories from the stacks by Gina Sheridan.
Okay.
So.
That was the winner.
Krista, if you're still here, I think you might like that one better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll take
I think we're going to get together relatively soon and start planning out January, February, and March. So we can get those polls up by next live show.
Which in our group, we do have the thread for recommendations. We don't really do like genres or anything. We do like one-word themes. And so people have been leaving recommendations. So thank you to them for that. So if you have a recommendation, leave it and we can come up with some titles.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Did you all see the stuff with Rachel Hollis? Know what happened? Mm-mm. I won't go on my rant about Rachel Hollis yet until I know what happened.
Rachel Hollis.
Hollis is Girl Wash Your Face.
Oh God. I hated that. Hated it.
Okay. So I think she is hilarious in how friggin' arrogant she is. Like, oh my gosh. So I really liked that book.
It was just
minus
to me.
Well, minus the fact of like, this book would have been way better if you would acknowledge the fact that you are a privileged mofo that has like all of the luxuries and like you rich white lady, stop writing advice books.
Yes. And I remember when it came out, like you would walk into Barnes and Noble and like they put the self-help table in front of the door and smack dab in the middle. And I was like, oh, I'm going to love this book. It just looks like I'm going to love this book. And then I read it and I was like, you're kind of judgy. Like there was the part, oh God, don't get me started on like women should feel bad if they're overweight and like, because it's your fault you don't go to the gym. And I'm like, I am at work at 5:15 in the morning, not to mention the 45 minutes that we spent getting ready to start work at 5:15 in the morning. And
oh my gosh.
Till 5 at night. I was like, lady, I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm sorry.
And you guys, she's getting divorced and she has a whole marriage podcast about how to do marriage right, because like she is just, girlfriend, get off your freaking high horse, because you don't know, like, and she comes off as this like authority in things, and like yeah.
Well, I'm glad we didn't have her book in one of our picks.
And I think we can all agree. Like
maybe we should like books by people we don't like.
That would be it. So we're reading Colleen Hoover. Do we all get to pick it up?
Oh, with Rachel Hollis recommendations.
Yeah, it's like here everybody's trying to educate themselves and become better people, and here's Rachel Hollis trying to like power in white privilege.
Yeah.
Yuck.
The thing with self-help, like you see the beginning of the year, self-help books are all over the place because it's new year, new me. I got these goals, but you got to look into the people first. I mean,
well, like she has built an empire on. I mean, yeah.
I was like, oh, she lives in Austin or used to live in Austin. Like, I'm gonna go find Rachel, and then I got to read that book, and I was like, oh no, girl, this is very judgy, but people loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Debbie, I don't think it's because you're older. I think it's because you're smarter. not reading her.
Yeah,
she has multiple podcasts, and she like touts herself as this woman who is trying to teach you how to be a better you and be more accepting of yourself and everything, and run a business and be a mom and do all of these things all at once, which is great if you've got a nanny and a personal chef and hours and hours. Yeah, a trainer. I mean, like, yuck. Yeah.
And that's it. It felt at first very, this is a very real woman who sees my struggle. And then the more I got into it, I was like, oh no, girl, we don't have the same struggle.
No.
I don't have all of that. Okay.
No.
I got to go to work. I don't have the time to go home, take a shower, make dinner, then go to the gym, girl. It's already 11:15 and I'm cutting into my sleep.
That's right.
Anyway, well, it's been great.
It has.
I love chatting Verity with you girls.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you to everybody who read it and joined us today.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, guys, so much for all this.
We love hearing everybody's thoughts.
If you have Wigs questions, author questions, specific title questions, hit us on Goodreads. Make sure you come hang out with us and chat with us. She kind of is low key, right? Like, so I'm excited that she's going to talk to us because she's not the one that we post a lot and stuff. So,
yeah.
Hopefully, the start of an author series for us. Fingers crossed.
We have.
Yeah. Our discussion videos may be changing a little.
Yeah, just a little bit. That's okay.
We're excited. Oh, and for my Hallmark fans, it is countdown to Christmas. So we have 3 premiering tonight and 1 tomorrow.
Really? Yay. I'll start using my Friendly more.
Yep. That's what I bought it for after you recommended it.
Yep. Tomorrow's Jeremy's birthday, but I'm going to be like, hey, sorry, got to watch the Hallmark.
Happy birthday, honey.
Yep. Happy birthday. Come cozy up and watch this.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Chat with y'all later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.